Following the end of the Napoleonic Wars, the great powers of Europe met in Vienna to discuss the future of Europe, especially the new European borders. The map that they eventually came up with was, by all accounts, a masterpiece, ensuring peace on the European continent and reducing wars between great powers down to a minimum for 99 years. But this did not have to happen. The Congress of Vienna could just as easily have ended in a massive failure. And this is exactly what we're going to look at today. First up, let's look at the map that was used as a baseline for the future of Europe. This map from 1792 effectively resets Europe to before all the Revolutionary War shenanigans. Right off the bat, let's tackle the biggest issue first, Poland. Russia and Austria had fundamentally opposing goals when it came to Poland. Russia wanted to annex all of Poland. Austria, however, believed that this would make Russia too powerful. Their goal was to either establish a strong Polish buffer state, or repartition Poland. The Russians, however, had a trick up their sleeve, as they were not the only power that desired expansion. Prussia too desired to expand their territory, and their first target was Saxony. Prussia wanted to annex the entire Saxon kingdom, which had sided with Napoleon during the Napoleonic Wars, but Austria opposed this. Prussia and Russia in our timeline made a deal to support each other's claims on Poland and Saxony, and in this timeline, they stubbornly insist on this deal. The only reason the French were even invited to be part of the Congress of Vienna was to act as a tiebreaker between the other four powers. In this world, with Russia and Prussia insisting on their land grabs, and Austria and Britain unwilling to go to war again, this never happens, and France may very well be completely left out of discussions. And then, to make matters even worse, Napoleon returns from exile. There is no way he could win this round too, but after this second attempt from Napoleon, I consider it a real possibility that Prussia starts pressing for massive territorial concessions such as Alsace and Lorraine. They would also push for territorial gains in the Rhineland to better counter future French aggression. Instead of a single Congress of Vienna, we would see several smaller treaties among the different nations. The Russians would still take Finland and Bessarabia, which they gained from wars against Sweden and the Ottomans. Spain would demand the territory of Roussillon, the Kingdom of Sardinia would annex Genoa and Corsica, and the Prussians would make a deal with Sweden to return Pomerania to Prussia, and in exchange Sweden would get the Kingdom of Norway from Denmark while Prussia would get Schleswig and Holstein. The Bavarians, who sided with Napoleon during the Napoleonic Wars, are not expanded, instead their borders are kept the same, except that Prussia annexes their western territories. The Austrians, trying to maintain a balance of power, annex some Italian regions while turning the rest into puppets, and most minor German states ally with Austria, as they see Prussia as an unjustified aggressor. Following a few more minor changes like the expansion of British Hanover and the annexation of Salzburg into Austria that already happened in our world and would still happen in this world, this is the final map. Compared to our world, France got absolutely humiliated, having lost Alsace-Lorraine to Prussia, Roussillon to Spain, and Corsica to Sardinia. Despite not having Posen, Prussia is significantly stronger since they have all of Saxony, Schleswig and Holstein, their Rhineland gains, and Alsace-Lorraine, as well as formerly Bavarian West German territories. The Russians are also satisfied with their gains, while Austria looks at Prussia and Russia with distrust, meaning that there is no alliance between the three nations to help each other against liberal or nationalist revolutions. For the first few years after the war, everyone is just exhausted. Over 20 years of constant war have completely devastated the continent, and the people are just happy that the war is finally over, and focus on recovering and rebuilding. But soon, things would change. By 1830, the Greeks have managed to achieve their independence from the Ottoman Empire, and the French have had another revolution. France is eager to reclaim their glory, and especially punish Prussia for having taken away Alsace-Lorraine, but for now, they can't do much to start a conflict. Interestingly, there is also no Belgian Revolution, since the Belgians are still ruled by the Catholic Austrians. Speaking of the Austrians, they are by far the most important power in this Europe. They single-handedly prevent French expansion into the Low Countries, Prussian expansion into Germany, Italian unification, and Russian expansion into the Balkans. However, the Austrians are also by far the most unstable great power in Europe. And as the next wave of revolutions rocks the continent in 1848, the Austrians are the first ones to crumble. In our timeline, the nation already saw a major Hungarian uprising, that the Austrians only managed to put down thanks to Russian intervention. In this timeline, however, all great powers look at each other with distrust and suspicion, making this unlikely. Without Russian intervention, it is highly possible that the Austrians are just unable to crush this Hungarian revolution. As the Austrian Empire is seemingly collapsing, other states see their chance to expand their influence. Sardinia is finally proclaiming Italian unification, while France is marching into the formerly Austrian Netherlands. Meanwhile, it's also possible that following the German Revolution, the Prussian king in this timeline accepts their offer to become German emperor for the sake of protecting the German states against French and Russian aggression. With the Austrian Empire collapsing, the remaining Austrian rump state is likely to soon be overrun by German nationalists requesting integration into the new German state. By 1850, the continent looks like this. The Austrian Empire just no longer exists. Germany and Italy have unified significantly earlier than in our world, and the collapse of the Austrian Empire inspires anti-Ottoman nationalist revolts in the Balkans, likely supported by the Russians. War would come early, likely before 1855, less than 40 years after the last major conflict. This war sees the expansionist great powers of France and Russia pinned against the last defenders of order in Europe, Germany, and Britain. The Germans are able to at least halt the French and Russian advances until British reinforcements arrive. The French then are soon forced to surrender, and the Russians make peace too as the war becomes unwinnable. The Germans greatly expand their territories into Poland, France, and Belgium. Following the war, the British become increasingly suspicious of a strong German state, while France and Russia are preparing to take revenge on the Germans. Another war will happen soon, but I cannot predict when this war will start, or who will come out on top. Like and subscribe if you want to see a part 2.